The future of training. What are the implications of COVID-19 for remote learning and the future of training? The impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic on learning and development in organisations has been immense. The lockdown has forced our hand to think of different ways to conduct training in terms of delivery, content and modalities, and the long ingrained status quo of classroom-based or face-to-face learning has had to end. This short video will define what is the new normal in terms of home working and e-learning, and shows that technology is playing a vital part across the whole pandemic scenario. It highlights the challenges and implications of remote learning as experienced during the 2020 lockdowns, and extracts the lessons learned to create a best practice guide for the design of online corporate training and facilitation. Finally, it looks at the advances in technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and draws on expert opinion to depict how the future of training will look. In short, new technologies are changing the way we experience learning and will experience learning. The advances are groundbreaking and disruptive for the world of learning and training. The future is now. As countries across the globe lock down to face the COVID-19 pandemic, life and education as we knew it have been reconsidered across the planet. It was strongly thought that social interactions in the foreseeable future would have to be rethought, perhaps permanently. Forbes has stated it is unlikely, extremely unlikely, that things will just go back to exactly the way they were before. Our workplaces are likely to change, and with it, the skills companies will require. So let's discuss some of the findings around home working. It seems that home working has become the new normal for hundreds of thousands of people across the globe. In the UK, 74% of SMEs plan to keep the increase in home working as a permanent fixture. 44% of business owners that have already cut the use of workplaces reported that they thought home working was proving to be more effective. A BBC survey conducted in August 2020 found that 50 of the biggest employers in the UK had no plans for remote workers to go back to the office in the near future. 24 of these firms were not looking to place workers into the office. 20 had opened their offices to people that couldn't work from home, and 9 in 10 workers were happy to remain working from home. In the rest of Europe, recent data suggest that only 50% of people in 5 big European countries spend every day working in the office. Evidence suggests working from home can make people happier because of the reduction in commuting time, more flexibility, and the ability to be more productive. Looking ahead, it seems that more and more companies will take a blended approach to where and how they work. So what will the post-COVID-19 workforce look like? Our workplaces have changed and are unlikely to return as before, and with it, the skills companies will require. While the pandemic has brought a lot of disruption, it also forced a lot of businesses to take action, from improving or launching digital services to allowing flexible working and implementing digital structures to allow people to work from home and remain productive. According to Forbes, the following skills are likely to be high in demand in a post-coronavirus world. Adaptability and flexibility. Someone that is going to succeed in a post-coronavirus world will need to be able to adapt to ever-evolving workplaces and have the ability to continuously update and refresh their skills. They will need tech savviness. Technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, the Internet of Things, virtual and augmented reality, and robotics will make businesses more resilient to future pandemics, and anyone that can help companies exploit these technologies will be in a great position. They will also need creativity and innovation. In a post-coronavirus world, we will need human ingenuity to invent, dream up new products and ways of working. Human creativity is going to be essential. And then there's data literacy. As the fuel of the fourth industrial revolution, data is a critical asset for every company. Companies that understand business trends and shifting customer needs are better able to respond. Professionals with data literacy will be even more appealing to prospective employers than ever before. They will also need critical thinking skills. During the pandemic and fake news overload, people who can objectively evaluate information from diverse sources to determine what is credible will be valued. Organizations will need to rely on critical thinking to understand what information should inform decision making. And then there's leadership. Change inevitably requires people who can inspire teams to create the change. Social distancing and home working will continue for the foreseeable future, so more people at all levels of the organization will be in a position where they lead others. The gig economy is only going to grow post-coronavirus, and people will be working in more fluent teams where people are taking the lead at different times. Professionals with strong skills in leadership, including how to bring out the best and inspire teams, as well as encourage collaboration, will be in demand. And people will need emotional intelligence. At times when people feel uncertain about their job and the future of their business, it is key to connect with people on an emotional level. Individuals with strong EQ will be coveted by organizations of all sizes and all industries. Then there's digital and coding skills. The digital transformation of organization was boosted because of coronavirus. People who can keep the digital business running and thriving during a time when in-person business is impossible or less efficient are going to be on the must-hire list. And finally, lifelong learning. 35% of the skills deemed essential today will change in the next 5 years. To remain relevant in a post-coronavirus reality, you need to commit to a lifetime of learning. So let's turn our attention now to technology. Technology has played a massive part in this pandemic, with schools, businesses and universities already utilising remote learning, moving everything from face-to-face to online. Organisations have recently found that any remote working setup is only as good as the technology that enables it. In the higher education field, distance learning is now an accepted part of the mainstream educational system, and it is increasingly becoming more indispensable as people choose to learn anytime and anywhere. The primary technology in distance learning is of course the internet, and more it is wireless or mobile technology which is driving the growth. An EdSmart report found that people are using their smartphones, laptops and tablets to catch a lesson no matter where they are. As long as they have some free time, they are logging in and learning. So what about the growth of e-learning? Well, the e-learning industry is one of the few sectors that has thrived during this difficult period. The e-learning market is estimated to grow from $176 billion in 2017 to $398 billion by 2026. E-learning is a growing industry that will continue its upward trend regardless of economic circumstances. In great part, this growth is being driven by trends in technology that are creating interactive learning experiences. The future may be now, but change is needed. Most businesses will undergo a period of change as a result of COVID-19, and looking at the broader picture, it may prove a major tipping point for digital transformation within the workplace and serve as a catalyst for work from anywhere arrangements. In this scenario, learning and development cannot stand still. It too will need to adapt. Senior management and HR leaders need to take this opportunity to review learning and development programs to determine whether they are cultivating the right skills, learning from the crisis to build more resilient training platforms in preparation for the new normal. However, it is not only the technology that needs to change, but the skills and competencies of both learners and students. Let's now discuss the challenges and implications of remote learning. The EdSmart survey states that when it comes to the challenges of switching to online learning, lack of technology seems to be the biggest issue. Not everyone has a computer or access to good broadband speed for the internet, and this greatly limits or entirely eliminates this population from distance learning. Even though 44% of low-income Americans do not own a computer, 56% of online learners are using their smartphones to do so. Learning on multiple devices has become a trend in the last few years. Therefore, compatibility and multiple device support will need to be a top priority. It seems that the greatest problem is the digital divide. Overcoming the digital divide is a key factor in delivering effective training on several fronts. The first is bandwidth connection, which is not distributed evenly either throughout one region, one nation, or on a global scale. Another is accessibility. Only 4% of households are not online in Europe, compared with 60% in Africa. Gender is also an issue. Globally, 12% more men than women use the internet, and in India, less than 1/3 of users are female. Another is competency. In Britain, a recent survey by The Economist states that only 40% of state school teachers would be able to broadcast a video lesson, compared with 69% from independent private schools. Online providers recognise that much of what they deliver around the world will have to be formatted in both low and high-tech versions. One cited an incident of having to get the UN to drop printed materials into war-torn Syria. Internet connectivity is not always stable, and in parts of the world, power cuts are common, along with restrictions of using electricity. One student in Cairo has to cycle 20 minutes to work and back in the dark to do his sessions, because work is the only place where he can access the internet. Also, providers have to mitigate for a time when 10 people might be huddled around one computer screen and then the power drops out. Thirdly, when and where people access their learning is vastly different. Also, time zones create an issue. Let's now take a look at shaping remote training, teaching and learning. Employers and trainers have realised how exhausting it is to be on screens all day long. Remote learning has reminded us all that powerful learning can only happen when we are engaged, energetic and focused. This experience has highlighted that learning remotely is not at all the same as learning face-to-face. Online and distance learning has to be at least as engaging as a workshop or class experience, if not more so. Research shows that learners have been suffering from extreme monotony, excessive screen time, and poorly differentiated learning experiences. One example had 70 online participants put in a series of breakout rooms to discuss topics, but with around 17 people in each group, it was impossible to get any meaningful discussion happening. Some students said lecturers only transposed their lectures, and in one extreme case, sat in front of a screen and read a book out loud. The University of Peking's online sessions have been modified to be at most 30 minutes long to be effective. The Roffey Park Institute, which delivers leadership and management training, has had to transform the way they deliver their training. Everything is now based around 90-minute modules. This has had implications across the whole spectrum of the design, with a different rigour needed. The upfront design has become time and resource heavy, and learning outcomes have had to be redesigned, and they have had to limit and restrict the amount of content in each module. Designing content for effective delivery has led Roffey Park to develop a rigorous process and template where learning outcomes, the assessment of them, content task alignment and delivery have to be matched. One learning and development manager in a company in London said they had changed a one-day course into a series of 2-hour modules with breaks in between for cohorts of 8 people. Remote learning, therefore, requires significant module and curriculum adaptations, as well as carefully designed and crafted learning tasks and assessment. to ensure the most effective, engaging and manageable process. The cost of this is high, significantly higher than traditional delivery. Not only is there substantial upfront cost in the development of the modules, there is also the cost of having a competent moderator to facilitate the online delivery for it to be most effective. So what impact has remote learning had on mental health? A Nuffield survey undertaken in Britain found that a prolonged period of working from home took its toll on the mental well-being of the nation. 36% of home workers felt as though they always had to be at their computer to respond quickly, thus contributing to higher levels of anxiety and stress than normally felt at work. 25% reported finding it difficult to cope with the mental challenges of loneliness and isolation from colleagues. 19% said they feel pressure to look good on video meetings, and 30% found it difficult separating their home lives from their work lives. 27% reported difficulties switching off at the end of the day or the working week, whilst 34% said it had placed a strain on relationships within the household with both partners and children. A London survey showed 47% of people who worked from home during lockdown said that it had impacted negatively on their mental health, while 23% of Londoners viewed working from home positively. However, there were differences between different demographics. 16% of Black and minority ethnic Londoners believe working from home had a positive impact on mental health, compared to 29% of white Londoners. Dr. Dominique Styler at the Grenoble School of Business states the three main reasons for finding remote working stressful are: 1. People seem to feel more isolated. 2. Increased workload because of the temptation to work longer hours. For those without a home office setup, there is no disconnect between home and office life. And 3. The new trend of back-to-back virtual meetings. Frederick Fogelberg, an organizational psychologist, states managers need a new set of skills for remote managing their staff. The focus needs to shift more towards well-being than being about only performance and productivity. Now let's take a look at the lessons learned from lockdown and how opportunity knocks. COVID-19 has provided the catalyst for change in delivering e-learning, and training organizations will need to respond to the new normal. It has also caused people all over the world to find extra time that they may not have had pre-pandemic to learn new skills through the use of e-learning. Many surveys from around the world show many people think lockdown has been a fantastic opportunity to upskill. They are doing this to become more employable, to help them in starting their own business or side project, or simply because they were interested in a topic. Regardless of their reasoning, this has caused a spike in the usage of training in soft skills. Andreas Schleider, head of education at the OECD, predicts that the genie is well and truly out of the bottle, and online delivery will become the default training method. So how can we harness the power of technology? Resistance to online meeting platforms has largely disappeared, and the cultural acceptance of such tools has been made easier for the simple reason that there is no other option. While Skype and Zoom are being used heavily for conference calls, these and other platforms offer so much more potential and are massively underutilized in facilitating learning and training. Harnessing technology in the short term could include simple examples such as reading journals, articles, and books, creating business book clubs, watching subject-focused YouTube-type content, setting up and facilitating action learning sets using Skype and Zoom, where peer-to-peer discussion, the top learning method in recent surveys, drives knowledge, acquisition, and innovation. Courses and content need to be designed with quality at the forefront of our minds. By blending together engaging components such as presenter-led footage, stunning animations, interactive choice slides, and many more features, we could offer users some of the most engaging content to increase engagement and learning outcomes. During this time of shutdowns and remote learning, Education technology has become a lifeline for the continuation of learning. Businesses would do well to maximise this, taking the opportunity now to move away from the traditional classroom or face-to-face delivery method to an online learning approach. Now let's turn our attention to trainer skills. Remote learning requires significant curriculum adaptations, as well as carefully designed learning tasks, assessments, and motivational interactions between learners and trainers to ensure the most effective, engaging, and manageable process possible. Educators therefore need to be able to modify learning tasks to meet learning objectives in increasingly nimble, creative, and adaptable ways that are meaningful and fit for purpose given the resources at hand. More attention than usual needs to be paid to building a sense of community and the monitoring of fatigue. Learning organisations need to support their teachers' digital literacy skills, and in particular their online interaction, along with course adaptation to avoid remote learning saturation and boredom. This requires a new approach to course design and delivery. In terms of online facilitation, trainers need to become aware of their communication to develop better word choices, clearer diction, better projection and undulation in voice, less jargon and a slower pace. We also need to review learner competencies. Digital skills are seen as being vital for the future workforce, and therefore it is both relevant and necessary that students are supported to develop specific skills: algorithmic literacy, understanding bias in artificial intelligence systems or how a search engine system works; data literacy, how, when, where data is collected, how it is aggregated and retained, by whom and with what effects; and political and economic literacy, what technologies are owned by whom, what industries are shaped by technology in what manners, how technologies shape public and political life, and the relationships between corporate and public and political interests. The EdSmart report states that 63% of respondents chose online education because it addresses work-life responsibility. 60% believe online learning helps them improve soft skills, including critical thinking and problem solving, 85%, time management, 84%, attention to detail, 84%, writing skills, 79%, teamwork, 69%, and oral communication, 62%. After all the research, what are the best practices for online learning and facilitation? Lessons learned have been many and varied. In technology, these include creating both low and high-tech versions of teaching material, ensuring content can be delivered across multiple devices, especially smartphones, choosing the right tools and sticking with them, perhaps limiting the number of tools, bells and whistles, and apps and platforms. Having an assistant producer take care of technical stuff while the trainer concentrates on delivery and content. And in course design, the lessons were to break modules into online sessions of a maximum of 90 minutes, filter information and limit the number of learning outcomes per session so participants do not suffer from information overload, carefully align learning objectives with assessment and design of tasks, be very intentional with design, create stunning visuals and replace repetitive templates, keep online instructions short, simple and clear so as not to overwhelm people. In terms of trainer competencies, the lessons include develop better speaking skills, clear diction, less jargon, voice projection, slower pace. Where possible, stand to give training in front of the camera. Provide a robust learning experience. Be clear about expectations for online participation, whether to have muted microphones or not, cameras or not, and how to signal for help. Break learning into smaller chunks and provide frequent feedback for them and us. Ensure people are introduced. and let everyone's voice be heard within the first few minutes to test for sound and to overcome participants' shyness. Be inclusive and recognize some people are shy. Also, recognize how exhausting it can be for all constituencies to be online, especially for those with special needs or who have children at home or technology issues. And finally, outside of the learning environment, maintain social contact through virtual meetings and live chat to help build a community spirit. So now let's look at the future of corporate learning. New advances in artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality and machine learning are transforming the training industry at an accelerated pace. These emerging technologies have the potential to add context, relevance and personalization to the learning experience. They will bring the power of doing to the learner with immersive experiences, just like a pilot in a simulator, taking training beyond basic skill development to real employee performance improvement by bringing the learning to the employee. Virtual reality is slowly increasing adaptation of full 3D immersion into training like never before. 360-degree filming techniques give users a complete picture of who and what is around them. KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, created an off-peak, anytime, anywhere training program on emergency evacuation procedures for 300 engineers that allowed them to train in their own hangar with real colleagues, real fire trucks, and the pressure to perform. Soon, haptic technology, which is kinesthetic communication, will allow learners to experience touch, temperatures, pressure, spatial awareness, and more within immersive learning environments. New technologies are able to measure learning effectiveness deeply and granularly to optimize the experience for everyone, giving a richer and immediate feedback to each individual. Not only can the learning experience be kept interesting and engaging for the learner, but the learning will achieve what it was always intended to do: get a behavior change and business outcome through growth in knowledge. Although artificial intelligent virtual mentors may not be out of place in a science fiction film, they are not futuristic either. Both natural language processing and machine learning are commonplace, and this means that characters you interact with in the virtual world can monitor what you're saying and your body language and respond appropriately, giving you coaching in the moment. You can stand on the site of Ground Zero, the Berlin Wall, or a London street and have an overlay of historic images and information on the scene you're looking at. Or open the bonnet of a car and watch a step-by-step guide onto how to change the oil overlaid on the engine. These technologies are currently being incorporated as standard in next-generation smartphones, and the applications described already exist. In training, the next generation of learning management systems will bring these together for a learning experience that will be intuitive and enjoyable. In the real world of teaching, the use of virtual and augmented reality is becoming part of the immersive technology that educators are using to teach. The EdSmart survey states that 89% of educators are interested in using more AR, VR, and 360-degree videos. So, in summing up, what's our conclusion? In the immediate future, a blend of on and offline learning will be the way forward. However, the pandemic has been the tipping point, and the business world is ready to embrace online learning and virtual meetings as default. Technology trends have influenced newer generations in terms of education. Modern learners and millennials are digital natives, requiring engaging online content, which will drive better content and the embracing of emerging technologies. The changing nature of society, technology, business and learners means we have to rethink and re-evaluate the effectiveness of instructor-led training and seize the opportunities that are out there. Time is ripe to put instructors, classrooms, PowerPoints, e-learning, field trips, mobile phones and blended learning into a melting pot and reimagine our learning and training virtually. New technologies are changing the way we experience this learning, They augment the user's worldview with contextual, relevant and actionable information by adding a virtual layer of information on top of manuals, charts, machinery and tools. Virtual reality training is a reality, offering unique, individualized, immersive training. Instructional designers are creating hybrid learning experiences that bridge the physical and the digital world. Artificial intelligence can predict whether a student will get their next assessment question right based on behaviors, cognition and engagement. Artificial intelligence can show when a particular slide or snippet of a video has a positive or negative impact on job performance. Breakthroughs like these are changing the game fast and are disruptive for the world of learning and training. In the future, we will be able to create immersive learning environments where people are in the situation, applying knowledge, exercising skills, and getting immediate feedback. But to make this happen, learning organizations need to raise the bar in terms of design proficiency and trainer skills. More rigor and discipline are required. There is also a critical need for training and teaching professionals to learn analysis and design, think of content creation in new ways, and be imaginative in creating activities which match learning objectives. Machine learning and artificial intelligence will reveal each individual's cognitive and behavioral preferences as well as engagement. Not only will we see where learners are engaging with content, we can prove knowledge transfer, measure learning's impact on business outcomes, and truly individualize learning experiences with artificial intelligence-based personalization of content. And all of this will be attained with one's own mobile phone or VR headset.